Now, welcome back to the Prospect Hut. Now, one of the big things I love about Major League Baseball is that players can come from anywhere. And you don't have to be a top prospect or a player with a reputation to make it to the major leagues and have an effect. We know that Jeff McNeil wasn't a guy that was considered a prospect, and all of a sudden he just came out of nowhere in the minor leagues. I never heard of Jeff McNeil until 2018, or maybe end of 2017. But we have a player that's popped up in spring training, and this is from SI. They did an article on him. Mets have under-the-radar budding infielder in farm system. Nicky Lorusso is a New York Mets infield prospect that is flying under the radar in the minor leagues. Now, we've not heard much about him. I did a video on him when the Mets drafted him about 2 years ago. So we haven't heard much about him. So we're going to get into this video right now. When people talk about hitters in the Mets farm system, there's a few consistent names that come up. Luis Acuna, Jet Williams, Ryan Clifford, Drew Gilbert, Carson Bench. Those are the usual suspects, and for good reason. But many projections leave one name out of the top 30 Met prospects lists and rankings, Nicky Lorusso. Lorusso worked his way from High A Brooklyn to Double A Binghamton last year, but only played 8 games there due to a hand injury after getting hit by a pitch in July. Nonetheless, he finished the season with 11 homers and 42 RBIs over 78 games total, hitting .262 with an .829 OPS. So that's pretty good. I didn't hear much about him, to be honest with you. That's not bad. And Binghamton, Brooklyn's not a very good, easy place to play for an offensive player. The Mets drafted a 24-year-old in the 9th round in 2023 out of Maryland, where he set a few records in just his 2 years there after transferring from Villanova. This includes a single-season RBI record for the program, leading the nation with 105 RBIs in his final year with the Terrapins. The corner infielder, who has reps at first and third, is fine with flying under the radar. Quote, I'm the type that likes to work in the shadows a little bit, not necessarily leave my name in the spotlight, Russo said on Mets Daily. Now, again, I think I'm the only channel that's talked about him. I have the playlist of all the draft picks the Mets have had over the last 22, 23, and 24. So check it out, and you'll see the 23 draft in my playlist. So you should check it out. Lorusso plays a lot at third base, which is where Mark Vientos is slated to start for the Mets this year and potentially for years to come. Pete Alonso has first base at least for this year, with the potential for 2026 as well. Those are the exact 2 players that Lorusso has watched and tried to learn from this spring in Port St. Lucie. I've actually got to talk to Pete a little bit, kind of pick his brain and what he's thinking about during an at-bat, what he's thinking about in the field. Quote, was breaking down the pitchers he was sharing with Mark Vientos about what the pitcher had, what his tendencies are, whether he likes a get me over slider, whether he's aggressive early in the count, just little things like that. Russo says his goal is to make it to AAA Syracuse this year. After that, a potential trip to Queens in 2026. His goal was to be in AA by age 24. Yet, he got there by age 23. I'm a pretty goal-oriented person. I'm looking for the next step pretty consistently. That has to be Syracuse, LaRusso said. I'm really looking forward to the challenge and what I can do this year. Growing up in the Connecticut area, LaRusso is pretty familiar with New York. He hasn't had to leave playing in Brooklyn and Binghamton. His agent, Joseph Guzman of Empowerment Sports Group, also happens to have grown up in Flushing as a Mets fan. The amount of gratitude he has for the people who are in his corner is unbelievable. Guzman said he's always been so routine-oriented and focused on the big picture. His emotions never get too high or too low, and he leads by example. He came into his last spring training last year with one of the strongest mindsets I've ever seen. He's the type of player that knows how to turn the page very quickly and trust the process. The bright lights will shine if Lorusso finds himself in the big leagues, whether at a corner infield spot or as a DH. Yet he won't be afraid if that time comes in 26 or beyond. He doesn't get blinded by the lights. When his time comes, he'll take advantage of it. He believes in his ability and his agent and the work that he puts in. He's the most humble kid that I know, but the bigger competitor inside. Lusso should start the year in Binghamton, but fans could see him in Syracuse later this year in just his second full year in the minors. So again, don't sleep on Nick Lorusso. He might be mashing balls out of Citi Field in the coming years. Well, we'll see. Obviously he needs at-bats. And he has plenty of guys That's the one strength of the Mets farm system is infielders. Infielders, and more infielders. Now, what will be interesting to see is how the Mets view him long term. Do they look at him as sort of a first and third guy? That means he's very limited in what he could do. But if they decide to put him in the outfield a little bit, get him some reps on left field, it adds his versatility. So that is a key thing for him. And a key thing for any player, but specifically with the Mets, because the Mets have so much infield talent here. Mets are, I've said, and they had, I would mention that the Mets are very short in terms of outfield talent, and they're very, and that's really where the problem is. Really, they're very thin in the outfield. Infield, they're very strong, and that's their biggest strength. Then a little bit behind the plate, and they're pitching. That's kind of how I look at it, just looking at it from everything I've read. Mets are very good at behind the plate, have very good prospects behind the plate. And the pitching has gotten better, but they're very light in the outfield, extremely light. So it'll be interesting to see if some of these infielders get converted into outfielders. I think we're starting to see the process of it. Perhaps Jet Williams might be going out there. Probably maybe Luis Angel Acuna might be going out there to give them more versatility and also give them a chance to play. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. And, of course, please subscribe to the Prospect Hut, and I'll see you later.